faithful. God is faithful.
I think you're going to have to take the show today. You're going to have to take the show.
God is a miracle worker. I tell you, we're so excited to be here.
I don't think it's a good idea to do a show after Sunday morning service. It's like, you know, you'll ghost up and stuff from the service, but the overflow, rather.
It is. But God He's been so faithful. And I tell you, not only from this morning, but even this morning in my teach, I was just sharing yesterday. You really blessed me. I know this, you said you didn't feel that well in your voice, but when you were talking yesterday about the spirit of offense and how the church as a whole deals with that spirit, and how that spirit has been so effective and really stopping the fellowship of the body of Christ. Mm-hmm. How we see when we get in that.
Welcome everybody. We didn't even say welcome to nobody. Welcome everybody. Come on in. We're so happy to have you here. We was just getting drunk in the Spirit of God and just overwhelmed at all of what a fast will do.
Absolutely.
And what it will cause to surface and what it will do in your life. And so go ahead and take the show, Pastor.
No, listen, I mean, I'm with you. But you were saying what a fast will do, what it will reveal in your life, who you are. You know, a moment ago we were talking with my daughter, Janelle, and she was saying how grateful she was about the whole vegan fast, about the whole situation, about what it was doing in her life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it blessed me, you know, to hear her say, she said, Dad, my mind feels clearer. I feel like God is talking to me. And when you do these fasts, sometimes people don't see the immediate results. But it is your faithfulness to the fast.
Yes.
Is that consistency of what God is doing in us. And I thank God because while we've been fasting and when I've been so honored to be sitting here with you doing the broadcast, yesterday, I'm telling you, it just blessed me. And I was just sharing with the body of Christ on today how we've allowed the spirit of offense to affect our walk with God. Yes. That we're so offended by everything that happens to us. Somebody got my seed, they don't like to me, they won't talk to me. That it literally takes control and takes over. And then we really miss the blessing of God on our life. Where we could have, as you were talking about last week, about that real fellowship we got. We missed the fellowship because we're so concentrated on the spirit of offense. And that's why that was so powerful.
No, it's really it's really powerful to think about it. And you know, you just gotta just forgive me because I'm so full, have been that way since service was over with. But just, you know, knowing I'm gonna lose all my makeup, no lashes, they coming off already. But it's just been so eye-opening. You know, sometimes you think you see things, and then God just start opening up your eyes, like Dr. Soroy talked about the other day about the prophet, you know,
yes, I remember,
and how when he got with Elisha, got with the person that was supposed to walk with him, because he had not spent the kind of fellowship that Elisha spent with Elijah, because it wasn't the same amount of time putting that time in with God and putting that time in the presence of the Lord. And even what we've been talking about all week about having the right relationships and being careful that you're not connecting yourself with wrong relationships and people that would influence you to move outside of the divine plan of God for your hermeneutic loop.
Absolutely.
And just, you know, even, you know, the fellowship and how he spent those 25 plus years with Elijah. He spent that time, you know, regardless, he put the time in. And then he said to him, but if you see me when I go up, in other words, you know, you didn't put the time in, but don't get all the way to the end and still miss what God has for you at the end of a thing. And so thinking about all of what God has called us to do in the body of Christ and how we have gone through this journey. I think I was sharing with you that how I've been in Bethel now for a little over 30 years.
Wow.
This has been my church. And so sometimes when you get to the end of the journey, it said the race is not given to the swift, neither to the strong, but for him that endureth
to the end.
To the end. And sometimes, you know, the hardest press is the end, because that's when you're about to get the hard thing, the hard thing that you asked the Lord for. So, you know, Elisha asked him for double. And like Dr. Soroy said, he said, you've asked a hard thing of me. And so you got people that are on this fast. The reason why Pastor and I made a decision to come on here anyway, even though it was Sunday, and you know how it is when church is out and you got to take care of a lot of things, and then on top of that, you're in the overflow of what God is saying, and you're still trying to hear God, because I don't know how you operate at your church, but in this one right here, the presence of the Lord is never finished. I mean, it's nothing for us to go out there right now in the sanctuary and see somebody on the altar, or it's nothing for me to walk up to the building at 3 o'clock in the morning and bang on the door, and somebody will come and open the door because they're on the altar praying. So they're on the altar praying, you know. And one lady that runs this bookstore, Sister Enos, every single night she's on this altar at 12 o'clock midnight, and we can be all in here talking and drinking coffee, and all of a sudden she'll disappear. And somebody said, where did Sister Enos go? She's on the altar, because that's what God called her to do.
Yes.
And so, I just want to give a shout out to her. You know, Sister Enos, can you come here, please, sweetheart? I know you don't like stuff like that, but just. Ever since we did the tent, after the tent, the Lord gave that to you. Can you tell us why you are so committed to it? Because nobody has to talk to you about it. Nobody has to say, are you going to do it? It's just something that is automatic. And this is why we are on this fast. And this is why I believe the Lord called the fast. Because one of the purposes of the fast was to anoint us with the audacity to have tenacity.
Yes.
You know, the audacity to say, the audacity to say, you know, I'm going to be a finisher. I'm going to do what God has called me to do. Yes. What is it that drives you?
Dr. Bynum, in July I was going through the hardest struggle of my life. And like Pastor would say, you're going to come somehow. You're going to either go willingly, or God is going to make you go. So I was going through the worst struggle in my life in July. And you picked it up in the spirit when we were at the tent revival. And I remember you came to me and you touched my head. And you said, the devil is troubling your mind. The devil is troubling your mind. But he's trying to keep you out of your place of intercession.
My God.
And you held my head and you said, I shift you into your place of intercession.
My God.
And from that night, it's from July, I've been to the altar. I've missed a few nights, but I've been there faithfully almost every night. And I thank God, but it's doing something inside of me.
My God.
It is making me more humble, more pliable to God, and in the hands of God.
Wow, that word, right? But first of all, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, you know, after that moment in July. Matter of fact, I was in the middle of preaching, and that's what happened. And so this was like something really, really unexpected for me, for you to say that. But still, Corey, come, because I don't think the cord is in here. It's asking us to do something later. Yeah, hit the screen and tell it later. It's asking us for an installation. Just say later. Yeah. Okay. But I didn't know that. But in the middle of me ministering, and that's another thing, when it comes down to fasting, and I'm not going to just keep, hounding on it, but I want you to understand that there is a power in it.
It is.
There is a power in fasting, and we were consecrating then for the tent.
Yes.
And I remember that night in the tent, God just sent me over to you.
Yes.
And I'm a strong believer. It is our willingness to have that tenacity and to be a finisher of what God has called us to do, Pastor, that will cause us to get the reward. You know
what blessed me that night? Because I know you didn't know what she was going through.
No, I didn't.
You did not know. And I knew what she was going. I knew what she was battling with. And she was really fighting. And I was talking to her. And I said, sometimes God allows things in our life to push us to the place where he wants. I've been saying to the body, you can go the easy way, you go the hard way. But one way or the other, you're going. Mm-hmm. And when this was going through, and I saw that commitment, when she just started going to the altar, and in the beginning, you were relentless every night, not missing a night. And then we saw God work, right? We saw God perform a miracle. And sometimes, even when you first start, you don't initially see it, but you got to be faithful to the call. And that's what you say about the fast. It is your faithfulness. It's not you always see it on the first day or the second day, but when you're consistent, we see God work a miracle. When you called out that night, I went into a praise. I said, hey, that's nobody but God. They could have sent you to her, and what you were saying, though nobody else understood it, because I knew what she was going through, I understood what God was saying through you in her life, and it blessed me.
The thing is, Pastor and Dr. Bynum, years ago I had promised God that I was going to get up at midnight and pray every midnight. I said, God, I'm going to get up and pray at midnight, because there's something about a midnight hour. Yes. And I had started and then I stopped. Like for 6 years I stopped.
My God.
But like you said, God is coming after the word we give him. So
yes.
he came after that word that I give him.
Wow. My God. And sometimes, Pastor, we were talking about, the fast. Somebody said on Facebook the other night, they said, I don't know, last night, they said, I don't know if I can make it through this fast, man. This fast is just really hard. And somebody, oh God, I need a word of encouragement. But the bottom line of it is that you're not really doing the will of God until you are doing the will of God against your will.
Against your flesh, that's it.
You're against your will. That's right. Everybody, anybody. I mean, when Jesus was moving along the earth and he was healing the sick and he was raising the dead and he was casting out devils, and everybody was saying, oh, he came to do the will of his Father. But that was the journey. The will wasn't until he got into the Garden of Gethsemane, and it was something that he really did not. That's right. Why he said, if it be your will, can you just let this cup pass from me? Yes. But nevertheless, Lord, not my will, but thine will be done. And so you're not really into a fast until you feel the pain of the fast.
That's right.
You're not in the suffering phase. There's no process. People say, well, I went a couple days without eating, or this is a 21-day fast, and I haven't had meat in 6 days, or I haven't had meat in 8 days. But you really don't feel the fast until you want the meat, or until you want to go and eat. But you have to make a decision to deny yourself. Because there's a difference, Pastor, in just going without a meal and denying yourself. Because I can go several days without eating. If I don't feel like eating, I just don't eat. Anybody that knows me, Antoinette takes care of me, she knows. Sometimes she'll say, Prophet, you haven't eaten anything today. I can go days without eating because I'm not a gouger like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a very finicky eater. I'm a very funny eater. So, for me to say, okay, I'm fasting for 21 days, fruits and vegetables. I said, okay, wait a minute. If I'm fasting for 21 days for fruits and vegetables, and I'm already a vegan, how am I fasting? And I had to ask myself, how am I fasting? And that's when the Lord said, by coming here, you're fasting your time, but you have to participate in some kind of way. So even though it's fruits and vegetables for me, I can get up and eat my, drink my smoothie, and then later on have a banana, and then 2 hours later have a salad, and then 2 hours after that I can have some soup or order some Chinese food or some stir-fry food. Okay, I'm still on the consecration. Right. I'm doing fruits and vegetables. But for me to tell myself, you're not going to get a smoothie this morning. You're not going to get a banana this morning. You're not going to have a salad. You're going to eat this bowl of soup, and this is all you're going to have. Because if you don't bring yourself into a place where you feel the sacrifice, where you know that you're sacrificing something, You just changing times that you eat, but you're not consecrating. And you have to have a purpose attached to that fast. There has to be something that is attached to it that you say, okay, God, but this is why I'm consecrating. So like you said, it's the will of God. When Jesus got to that point, you know, because he was with God in the beginning. So I want to keep on bringing to the forefront about relationships, about longevity, about tenacity, about sticking, about staying. You know what I mean? About holding on to the horns of the altar and being present. And I think that's the thing that God is after too in the fast. He's after breaking that spirit of vacillation where we in God one day and we out of God the next day. And we high 1 minute and the next minute we're not going all the way with God. The fast is designed to hold you in position until God releases to you the answer that you've been praying for. We're going to a quick break and we'll be right back. Don't you go nowhere. Oh my God. Back. We just have to take that.
We have a live audience tonight.
I know. I'm sorry about that. We had to take that little break for the sake of television because we're taking TV as well as Facebook. But Pastor, I want to pick it up at the point of having the tenacity also for longevity. You know, I've been in the ministry now, as I previously stated, for 30 plus years,
right.
you know, 30 plus years. And so, you know, I thank God for that, you know, I wasn't a church hopper, you know, and it always hasn't been good times, you know what I'm saying?
No, it hasn't.
But the Lord sustained me. But we were looking at Elijah and Elisha, you know, when he came and tossed the mantle, you know, he walked with him for more than 25 years and he stayed there. So he gets to the end of the journey and Elijah says to him, if you see me when I go up, then you'll get what you have asked me of. But first of all, you asked a hard thing. So he travels with him. And then after he goes up, he sees him when he goes up, he drops the mantle. And then Elisha begins to travel with his mentee.
Right.
The length of time has not been the same. And because the length of time wasn't the same, this young man didn't have the ability to see the vision that the prophet saw.
Yes.
Because he had not become accustomed to seeing in the spirit like that. Because the longevity was not there. You know what I'm saying? First of all, Elisha had to have walked with Elijah long enough to know what his ability was before he even asked him that.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, okay, I've seen you walk in power, and I've seen you walk in authority, and I've seen you have a connection with heaven. So I'm not asking you for something that I don't think you can give me. I'm asking you for something that I believe that you can bombard heaven for, and not leave me with just a single portion, but a double portion of what you have. So then, here he is. Now this young man says, I want double, you know, and he gives it to him. And now here come his mentee, and he says, go and see. And he says, oh no, I don't see nothing. I I can't see anything because you're not used to prophetic vision. And that's what fasting does. It gives you prophetic vision. Because you know what? People that are watching today, a prophet can come to you and prophesy. Absolutely. And they can prophesy a word to you. And the word could be a on word. And the word could be a true word. But if you are not accustomed to your spirit being postured to receive from the prophetic and to receive from that which is divine, they can be speaking a divine word and you will miss it.
Absolutely.
You will miss it. So this is what fasting does. Fasting helps us to enlarge the borders of our spiritual mind.
Yes.
So that we can understand spiritual interpretations of spiritual matters. So that the whole time that you're on the fast, God is speaking things that normally you would have taken to be a common thing. But because you're consecrating now, you see the spiritual power in what is being said. So automatically you're being ushered to another dimension. And that's why he said, okay, I got to pray again. Because I got to send you back to see again. Because apparently you're not seeing what I'm seeing. They're both in the same place. The prophet is seeing chariots. The prophet is seeing there'll be more with us than with them. But you don't see that yet.
And the interesting part was that the prophet was in the tent. He sent Gehazi out of the tent. So he's in the tent. But his prophetic view is so incredible that he sees outside of the tent without even walking outside of the tent. And then he says to him, he said, no, he pray again. And he go out and he says, now I see. And that's why who's around you has everything to do with your ability to see.
You got to.
And you were talking about that. Yeah, about the wrong mixture. Somebody can inhibit your ability to see, or they can open your eyes to see in the spirit by the words they speak over your life.
Right. By the words that they speak over your life. And also, Pastor, what people don't understand is that when you around people that, like right now, some of you all are going through this fast and somebody's telling you, why you doing that? And you ought to go on and eat something and that. And you ought to, I mean, I read one post from one lady that, you know, supposed to be spiritual. And well, I read the Bible and God is it, and if I don't eat meat, and then you know, and that means that my spirit is consecrated. Now listen how the enemy will make the believer start to talk. That means my spirit is in a consecrating manner, and I don't think that my spirit should be in a consecrated matter all the time. Look at how warped that is. Because as a believer, we should always consistently, that's what the Bible said, to always pray and to pray without ceasing. Because as believers, our job is to be consecrated. Our job is to be separated. Our job is to stay under that whole presence of the Lord.
Absolutely. And that's the enemy fights us. We want to be, the Bible says we're in this world, but we're not of this world. Our hunger, our desires should be towards God and the things of God. When you can listen, he always said, well, I don't want to be too deep. I don't want to be too spiritual. What do you mean you don't want to be? My intimacy with God is everything.
That's
in
right.
the presence of God, there is fullness of joy.
That's right.
In the presence of God, there is liberty. So why would I not want to stay in His presence? When I get to heaven, what am I going to be? In His presence. So I get down here because I don't want to.
But the enemy is going deep. But there are demonic spirits that have been released in this hour that have never been released before.
Never.
So the enemy is on schedule with his regime, and the church is not.
And he don't stop.
And he don't stop.
He don't take no break.
And he don't take no break.
And he don't say, I don't want to be evil today.
Absolutely. Pastor, that was good.
I don't want to steal. I don't want to kill. I don't want to destroy today. I just want to take a break today. He don't do that.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say, I don't want to be evil today. Or, you know what, I'm not going to be as evil as I was yesterday. I'm going to be a little less evil. The devil's regime is coming, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming. And it's coming from every direction. We're the only ones that are taking a break in the spirit realm, and that's the thing that I do not get.
I tell you.
I do not understand that. And we can't afford to, Pastor, because when you look at this thing, now let's look at this. Okay, we can look at Daniel's fast.
Yes.
We can look at Daniel's fast and we could say, okay, we on 21 days. And those of you that are watching, we on 21 days and we on the consecration. Okay, but let's look at something. When it was time though, Daniel needed an answer. And the Bible said the day that you purpose in your heart to understand. Number one, to understand. Number two, to position your heart to seek the Lord. I heard you, because he made the decision to put it down.
Yes.
So the day he had not even finished his 21 days, but the day he decided that he was going to do it, what he was praying for was answered.
Right.
Now that right there is revelation all by itself. The minute you decide
in your mind,
in your heart, and in your heart that I'm going to do this, then your prayers start getting answered. So watch this. So watch this. This is the reason why. This is the reason why people around you will try to discourage you from continuing the fast. Because why? Every single day, every time 12 o'clock midnight comes, it is another opportunity for you to decide if you're going to fast. Yes. And every day that I make the decision that I'm going to fast, I get a prayer that is answered immediately. Immediately. And so I rejoice, watch this, I rejoice not because I see the answer instantly. I rejoice because it has been answered instantly. So what am I doing? I'm waiting for the positioning for it to be deployed at the right time. But the prayer was answered. So come 12 o'clock midnight, when 12 o'clock midnight come in and we make the decision that we go in one more day on this fast, and watch this, and 12 o'clock midnight will be the 8th, and the number 8 is new beginning.
Oh, I love it.
Then something is going to be birthed in your life that wasn't in your life 24 hours ago.
Hallelujah.
There is something that is going to happen in your life tomorrow that did not happen today.
Yes.
Because you made it to the 8th day. You made it to the definition of what God said was new beginning, which means everything about you is going to be new. Your mindset is going to be new. Your finances are going to be new. Your spirit is going to be new. Your joy is going to be renewed. Your relationships that are broken is going to be renewed. I don't think nobody hear me. My God. No, I don't know about nobody else, but I'm not playing with this. This is not something that we're doing religiously. I have an expectation of the Lord. And everything that he says that these numbers mean, I'm going to receive it. So at 12 o'clock midnight, that's the day of renewal. And 12 o'clock midnight tomorrow night, the number 9, that's the night he's going to birth it out in me. That's the night that everything that I have been travailing for, everything that you have been pregnant with, the Lord is going to cause you to give birth in the spirit. Somebody needs to give God praise. Hallelujah.
Well, today's the 7th day.
The day is the 7th day.
Today is the day of the completion.
He's perfecting those things which concerns you. Today is a day of completion, and that's why the enemy is angry. That's why the devil wants you to quit today. And I'm going to tell you something. If you don't stay on this fast no other day, don't you break it today. Don't you break it for chicken. Don't you break it for a hot dog. Don't you break it for nothing, because this is the day of completion.
Oh, hallelujah.
My God.
You know, when you were talking about Daniel and thinking how even when Daniel prayed, how he had to wait on the answer. Now, the answer was already given.
Yes.
The day he prayed, God was dispatching Gabriel with the answer. But the situation was, when the answer was coming, there was spiritual warfare.
Yes.
That's why, how can we take a break? How can we become unconsecrated when the enemy is constantly fighting the answer that God has for our life? You know, your book, I don't know how many of you have this book yet, but it's Praying from the Third Dimension. And I say it all the time that this book is not a book that's merely written out of prophetess intellect, but it is an experience of a lifestyle. 20 years of watching her come and consistently lead the body of Christ. I mean, there was a time where literally after going through 5s and 10s and 300 and 100 and just all, that God birthed a moment in this church. And again, I so badly, somewhere maybe in a week to come, we can really go back and play some excerpts.
We've been doing that every morning at 5 a.m. We've been playing 5 a.m. tapes. We've been playing 5 a.m. messages every morning at 5 a.m.
But I want to catch some of the interviews. There used to be a line out this door, a quarter of a mile down the block at 12 midnight. People waited at 12 midnight to get into the church at 4 o'clock in the morning. And they were coming to pray. There was no hype, the worship, the praise. The pulpit was filled with pastors from all over the city who were just coming because there was a hungry. And this book is a product of that prayer. And if you don't have it, you want to get a copy. You go to Amazon and get it. Praying from the Third Dimension. And praying from the Third Dimension, and I was just sitting and I was thinking about, the Bible says we don't wrestle against flesh and blood.
That's right.
But against principalities,
yes,
powers,
yes,
rulers of darkness, and wickedness in high places. So tell me, when do we have time to be unconsecrated?
No,
when do we have time to stop praying? That's why he said pray without ceasing. And it is our responsibility, especially when we look at our society, especially when we look at what our own government is going through right now. If we ever need to pray, we need to pray for Mr. Trump and the Congress and the Senate.
That's right.
Because we need to see the move of God in this nation. The Bible says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people.
To any people. To any people. Sister Edith, come here, because I just saw this as a demonstration. But you know, when people say, well, Corey, can you come here, sweetheart, and help me with this? I want to get this off here for me, please. I have to stand up. I want to make sure that I got it underneath. Is it underneath? Okay. I was seeing this. Sister Edith is right now. I want you to sit right there. So Sister Edith is on the fast. Now she's on the fast, and she's determined in her heart that she's going to obey God. Okay? Yes. But the Bible said when Daniel was praying, his prayer was answered, but the prince of Persia held it up.
Yes.
So God sent him. Now remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So now, when we are in intercession and we are in fasting, we are in the dethroning and the breaking down of the strength of the body.
Absolutely.
So that means it is our spirit that is sending the message to the divine place, saying that I have removed my flesh and now my spirit needs help with what is going on. So when the Lord sends the heavenly host, what we need to understand is that when we are attacked by a principality and a power, God sends that same realm to battle that enemy.
Wow.
He doesn't send an imp to battle a principality. He sends a power that is greater than that principality.
Yes.
Oh no, you better hear this. So when Sister Edith is still fasting and all of a sudden she done told the Lord about it and her answer is coming, now you have the heavenly host that is doing battle for Sister Edith. But this is what I saw in the spirit. They're doing battle, but every now and then they got to look over their shoulder and see if she's still there. Okay? She's still there praying? Okay, we still battle. I love it. We still battle. Because remember, you got to remember this. We have to remember this, that the prayer was answered. So the problem is not is the prayer answered. The problem is the enemy don't want it in your hand. And so the job of the heavenly host is not to answer the prayer, but the job of the heavenly host is to get it in your life. Is to make sure it lands in your life, that it lands in your hand. So they're fighting. Sister Edith is still there. They looking over their shoulder. Okay, because guess what? We're not fighting for nothing. Sister Edith, get up and move out of the chair. So all of a sudden they fighting, and they look around and ain't nobody there. And they say, well, what are we fighting for? What are we in battle for? Because the person that God told to stay there and fast, they are no longer on the battlefield of prayer. Somebody better give God a shout up in here. Does. You got to stay there. I don't care what the enemy says, because he's coming to attack you, because he knows that you got a heavenly host that have drawn their swords. They dipped it in the blood of Jesus, and they will not stop fighting for you as long as you the spirit. I saw that thing in the spirit. And here we go. Sister Enos, come back and sit down. Come back and sit down. And here we are. We sit down for a minute. And then God started working on us. And then we jump up and leave and go somewhere where I got discouraged. I wanted some chicken. I wanted a steak. I couldn't help it. Big Mama and them cooked ham. And I just had to eat it. But I want to tell you something right now. You better make up in your mind that if God's got us sitting on this Facebook page for 21 days, you better know that God is about to do something for you that you have never had before. That's why the Bible tells us, come on, Sister Enos, and sit here. That's why the Bible tells us to stand still, stay put, don't move from your position, because your position determines the heavenly position. Your position determines who fights for you. Your position determines what you're getting out of the spirit realm. And guess what? In your weakest day, in your hardest day, that's the day you got power with God. That's why the Bible said, for when I'm weak, then am I strong. Because you don't know the power of your mouth. You don't know the power of your prayer. You may have said this prayer and you weaken your spirit and you said, God, I need you to fix this, but I'm going to help you with something. It wasn't no little prayer to the heavens. It wasn't no little bitty weak prayer to the heavens. Like I told you the other day that I saw that vision. I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw the angel of the Lord standing next to the couch. And he had on all this, it looked like a burnt orange type of robe. And all I kept seeing is him throwing papers up. And he would reach down and throw papers up. And he was throwing papers up. And I was startled. And I said, God, what is that? He said, I want you to know that there will be no interception for what you are praying about. He said, you tell the people on this fast that I have assigned an angel to take your prayer and deliver it straight to heaven. The devil won't stop this one. He will not intercept this one. He will not hinder this one. For the Lord shall surely do with his hands what he has spoken to you with his mouth. Somebody give God a praise right now. I'm going to do it. 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 I know it looks hard. I know it looks like it's impossible. I know the devil has lied to you. I know he has spoken some things. I know the devil has told you that you're asking for a hard thing. But you tell the devil, I'm not asking man, I'm asking God. And there's nothing too hard for God. The Bible says, with God, all things are possible. Somebody give God praise. I know we gotta go.
But I feel victory. Victory.
Oh,
yes, God.
Take me at my word, said the Lord. Take me at my word. Take me at my word. I'm not a man. I'm not a man that I should lie. Take me at my word. Take me at my word. You got to declare today, I shall not be moved. I shall not. You got to be like Tobiah and Sanballat. I'm on the wall and I'm not coming down. I don't care what kind of message you send to me. I'm on the wall and I'm not coming down. I don't care what kind of threats you send to me. I'm on the wall and I can't come down because I'm not doing the work of the flesh. I'm doing the work of the spirit. God is my boss and he's about to pay me for every prayer that I have interceded for. Somebody give God a praise right now. Thank you, Jesus. Pastor, we got it.
I know. Oh my God.
We got it.
I think this is the first fastest hour on the radio. It was like the minute you get started, it's time to go. Oh my God, but I can feel the deliverance. I can feel the breakthrough for somebody who's been watching this broadcast. Oh, I can feel the shift. Amen.
No. I can feel it, Pastor. Because once we get the illicit feedback,
watch out. Don't start something now, I'm telling you.
Because the devil trying to tell somebody that this is about food.
Yes.
The enemy is trying to tell somebody that this is about a piece of chicken and a piece of steak. The enemy is trying to tell somebody that this right here is about a hamburger. Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah.
But I came to tell you, I came to give you the illicit feedback that this is bigger than a burger. This is bigger than a steak. This is bigger than chicken. Why? Dr. Bynum, why do you say that? Because some of you all, this fast is the hardest thing that you have ever done. For some of y'all, you saying, I've done a fast before. But for some reason, this one is just so hard because the enemy know that this one is going to get you paid. He already knows that. He knows that this one's going to get you the victory. He knows that this one is going to get you divine results. And that's why he wants you to quit. Come on. Thank you, Jesus. Pastor, we got to go. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Oh, hallelujah, Jesus.
Without power. I'm going to say it again. No word that God has ever spoken will be without power. For with God, all things are possible. And this is the fact that he will do with his hands what he has spoken to you with his mouth, said the Spirit of the living God. Somebody give God a shout.